hope you're doing good. Today we're going to look at 1975's track I'm in Love With You. We're going to break this down into 3 levels. The first is going to use mainly open chords, and this is going to get you through pretty much the whole of the song. We're then going to look at a version that uses more bar chords, and then for level 3 we're going to break down that main lead riff that exists through the majority of the track. So level 1, the open chord version, or mostly open chords, but it's nothing to worry about. The first chord we want to get is a G major. So the chord boxes are coming up on the screen, and we're going to break that down quickly as well. Our second finger goes to the 3rd fret of the lowest E string. Our first finger goes underneath onto the A string, 2nd fret. Make sure you're on the tips of the fingers so you get this nice curve in the knuckle. We're not going to interfere with any of the strings underneath. Then our 3rd and 4th finger go onto the 3rd fret of the B and highest E. And we want to make sure this D and G string are existing open and sounding lovely in between everything else. From there, we're going to go to an A major. Don't bring your fingers too far away from the strings, too far away from the fretboard when you change chords. The further you go away, the further you have to come back. We want to give our hands as little work to do as possible, make these transitions nice and smooth. So our 2nd, 1st and 3rd finger are going to all go behind the 2nd fret onto the D, the G and the B string. We have to really bunch these fingers. You'll see the A major done in a couple of different ways, mainly like that. I like this version because it slides nicely into some other chords, not ones that we're going to use today. But I find forming this habit with this shape is good for a lot of linking chords further down the line and with other songs. Anyway, thumb comes over the top, mutes that low E. Make sure our high E is ringing open, and we want our open A string as well. We're now going to change from the A major to the B minor, a bit of a trickier one, but we're going to get it. We want to bring our first finger onto the 2nd fret of the A string, our 2nd finger onto the 3rd fret of the B string, and our 3rd and 4th fingers onto the D and G string, 4th fret. Top of our 1st finger can mute that lowest E. Make sure your thumb isn't too far over the neck of the guitar. It will really restrict the stretch that we want to get in our hand, so it comes down sort of around the centre of the back of the neck, and also our wrist hangs nice and low as well, and we have this lovely curve which again allows us to stretch out our fingers as much as we need to. And our 1st finger laying nice and flat brings out that high E string. We're going to apply a down, up, down strumming pattern to the first chord, our G major, an up, up, down to the A major, and then an up, up, down, up to the B minor. I think this rhythm's going to be easier to play once that drum comes in for you. It might make a bit more sense. So if you want to, over that beginning, you could just single strum, but there is a guitar in there as well. But if you wanted to just single strum those chords, that's cool. And then when that drum beat comes in, you can add that rhythm, which will play nice and slow now. That pattern, those chords with that strumming, you can play for pretty much the whole song. You get to just under 3 minutes, about 2:57, and then a bridge comes in that introduces 2 more chords, an E minor and an F sharp minor. Let's look at that E minor. We're putting our 1st finger onto the 2nd fret of the A string, and then we're putting our 2nd finger onto the 2nd fret of the D string, and we strum through all 6 strings. Then we go to an F sharp minor. Bit of a tricky one again. If you've got the B minor, you'll get this as well. 1st finger goes to the 2nd fret of the E string. Our 3rd and 4th come down onto the 4th fret of the A and D string. We just strum through that, really bringing out those higher notes. Then we're going to get a bit of familiarity, and we're going to go to the G major and then the A major. So that bridge all together, but nice and slow. Down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up. That happens 3 times. On the 4th time, I changed the last 2 chords very slightly to build with the tension of the music. It all sort of rises up to get back into those chords that we used in the first place. So I would change, it's a very small little detail. We get to this G and we add another down. Do a down, up on the last chord, the A major. And then we've built back into that G, A major, B minor that we did in the first place. And the change. Level 2, let's focus on those bar chords. So instead of our open G, we're going to play on the 3rd fret of the lowest E string with our first finger, and we're going to make our bar chord shape. First finger is going to be really important here. It's going to play across all 6 strings. Our second finger comes onto the 4th fret of the G, and our 3rd and 4th fingers go onto the 5th fret of the A and D. To get to our A major, instead of this open shape, we just slide this whole shape up 2 frets. Keep that same strumming pattern as we did earlier. Similar thing to get to the next chord, our B minor. We shift this shape up 2 frets, but this time we take our second finger off of that G string, and our first finger, we're relying on that now to pull out that note on the G string. We've made it a minor. Let's keep that same strumming pattern as we did in the first section. If you're doing both versions, you've done that open chord version with a B minor at the end, and now you're doing this version, you could put those in different sections. Why not in the verses, play your open chords, and then bring that in for the chorus, or vice versa, whatever feels right for you. Have a little go, have an experiment, see what you think fits really well. The bridge section for level 2. We can start with that E minor still, that open, and then go to our F sharp minor, and then we use our G major chord that we've just worked on, but in the bar chord shape, and then slide to the A major. And we use that same strumming pattern. Level 3, let's tackle that lead riff. Starts the song and occurs throughout a hell of a lot of it. So let's put our first finger across the 7th fret of the G and B string, and then we want to put our second finger onto the 8th fret of the B string. We're going to do 1 down strum across those G and B strings with our middle finger on, and then we take the middle finger off for the up strum. Down, and then an up. Then we just do 1 more strum in that same position across the G and B. So we get. You notice how I relax my fingers as well, so it deadens the note. We haven't got that sustain existing for each part, and linking everything, it adds a little bit more of a stab to it, a little bit more of an attack if we just relax our fingers. Lovely. And then we slide back to the 5th fret of the B and the 6th fret of the G. And we're doing a down up on that 5th and 6th fret of the B and G. Still across the G and B string, still using our first and second finger. And then we resolve that first section by putting our 3rd and 4th fingers onto the D and G string, 7th fret. And we just let those pair of notes ring out for a little while. And then the second half of that alternates very slightly. So there's like a little D string 9th fret that gets thrown in there that becomes almost like a percussive strum, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. But for now, and we still slide back to that second half. Now I'm resting my hand on the bridge when I play these lead parts. It's a nice way of picking out those notes, ensuring everything's lovely and clean. But I feel like the guitar is there, and something you can do if you want to, something to experiment with to level up again maybe, is to add the percussive element to it. And to create this percussive feel, we bring our thumb over the top to mute the low E and the A string, if you can get there. And our first finger is going to mute the high E, and it's also going to use the pad at the top of the first finger to mute the D string. Means we can strum all the strings but only bring out the notes that we want to be played. And a guitarist will do that a lot of the time, so that you're adding more of a rhythmic feel to the pattern you're playing. Lovely to rest on the bridge and pick those notes out nice and clean. But if you add that percussive element, it just makes everything dance a little bit more. Also, I've noticed there's a slight little variation in there again. When they slide back to the second pattern, there's an addition of the 7th fret of the B string. So you get... I particularly noticed that on the 3rd bar once all the music's come in. So you have that intro, and then when it gets to the 3rd bar, you've got... And I believe after that on the pre-chorus, he does it every other one. So just to recap, our first section, second half goes slightly different with the introduction of the D string. I believe that pattern just continues throughout the track. It alternates. That D comes in on what we can call the second half of that riff, if we like. Then, in the pre-choruses, every other one that has that D also has the... When that little finger comes down, it's playing the G string and the B string. So we're keeping the continuity of that two strings being played at one time. There we go, 3 levels to this song. Have a go at all of them and see if you can piece that together. Experiment with it, add variety. Don't just stick yourself to those open chords. Start with that, but then bring in those power chords as well, so you've got a really nice journey to go on throughout that song and you're not just stuck in one area of the guitar. Nothing wrong with doing that to start with, and if that's where you're at for a long time, that's totally cool too. But always have one eye and ear on how can I develop this and take my playing further. Thank you for checking out this video. I really appreciate it. This channel's new. Previously, I've mostly just shared lessons from guitar courses that I've made. If you want to check out any of those courses, there's links in the description. But I'm starting to add more content that is specific for YouTube. So if you've got any requests, anything you want me to cover, anything you want me to look at, then please let me know in the comments below. I will check them all out. And I hope at the very least I'm just passing on a good bit of guitar knowledge and I'm helping you wherever you're at in your guitar playing journey. Please consider liking and subscribing if you feel like you've got something good from this content, and I'll hopefully catch you again soon. Take care.